Welcome back to the Center Ring. This is going to be the best episode ever. It is Monday, so we have Yikes of the Week. Astralis signed a sixth man and pissed everyone off. We witnessed some esports history on Sunday, so we'll talk a little about NASCAR and the F1 Virtual Grand Prix. And s1mple drops a 50 bomb, but still loses. Is it the most Navi thing ever? We discuss. But first, this episode of TCR is brought to you by Alt. Alt is your go-to, or should be now, your go-to place for esports, streetwear, fashion, clothes, whatever you want to call it. A great man once said that if you want the ultimate, you have to be willing to pay the ultimate price. That's not the case with Alt. With a number of styles to select from and all at a reasonable price, you don't need to spend $125 a nuge on one hoodie. Just because it's a collab with some cartoon animal on it, they won't charge you $125. In fact, they'll charge you what? How much is our hoodie? 60?
$59.99.
$59.99. I'm sorry, I overestimated on that one. You could even go to altesports.com right now. You click on collab or collaborations, and you go to TCR, and you can even pre-order our very own line of clothes with Alt, the 101 Burglar lineup. Go ahead and do that. Get yourself a hoodie. Get yourself a shirt. Most importantly, go to altesports.com and follow them on Twitter at Ultimate.
Hey, it's s1mple from Navi, and you're listening TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Center Ring, brought to you by Alt. My name is Tim. Alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend, Anuj. What is up?
How you doing, bud?
I'm getting by. I'm
Surviving?
getting by.
It's like day 8 now of like being on quarantine in the Bajaj household, and it's taking its toll, man. It's taking its toll.
So, I just muted my mic and coughed, for those who don't know. And mentally, every time I cough now, I feel like that could be the one. Like, that could be the cough that does me in.
I was like pretty nervous today. I went to go get my blood taken today. My wife wanted me to go donate some blood. So I go out, and just being even we were in a Carter blood care over here, and a little nerve-wracking, you know, like being in public, it's sad that it feels very uncomfortable right now. Like, it doesn't feel like a natural thing to go do. And so I was like, just trying to isolate myself, stay 5-6 feet away from everyone. Just weird, though. It's just, we're in weird times, dude.
And it's also weird. So you're on like day 8. I didn't start working from home until last Thursday. So that's like what? I'm only on like day 4 or 5, whatever. And I think you're in the same boat as me, where any other time, we have no problem staying home. Like, any normal time in life, I have no problem crushing it, playing games all weekend. But for whatever reason, now that I'm being told that I have to stay home, doesn't it make it a little bit like you're a little bit more antsy to go do something outside?
Well, for sure, because like you're sitting behind a desk doing your job in the same place. And for me, that's a little bit of a struggle, right? Like, I'm here for 8 hours a day behind this desk, and then work is done. And normally my relief is to go play games, but I just sat here for 8 hours. Like, I really don't want to spend
That might
another
be it.
4 or 5 hours sitting here.
That might be
So,
it. Like, I am ready
trying to go for walks, and like, it's just, you can't do those normal, like, everyday just errands.
Well, it's
that
like
you
I'm
would go
stuck
and
at
do.
home all day, so I want to do home projects, like organize the garage or closets. But to do all that, you need like boxes, and boxes are sold at stores that I can no longer go to.
Yeah,
So
Dallas is like shut down.
Yeah, no, it's Dallas is shut down, and you and me are probably. I hear where we live, Tarrant County is going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it an interesting time, but with that interesting time brings new opportunities, and we discussed it last week. So I'm not saying they listen to the centering, but I am suggesting that they listen. Because we mentioned last episode, Anuj, that motorsports have the best opportunity to really capitalize on what's going on around the world and with esports, because with how technology assists that industry already, like a lot of the younger drivers are already practicing with race simulators, and these are not just, well, I mean, the games are pretty good on their own, right? But when you throw in a seat that vibrates and, the whole
Proper
rig,
steering wheel, shifter, and all that.
it takes it to another level. They're not just
For
buying
sure.
a Logitech. No knock on them, because they also make really good ones. But the simulators are pretty intense. Well, now we see it today, or earlier on Sunday, where NASCAR, we talked about last time, announced that they were going to do the what are they calling it? The Pro Invitational for eNASCAR, and then F1 did their first ever virtual Grand Prix. So I want to talk a little bit on NASCAR first, because I tweeted this out and I truly do believe it. I don't think I am jumping the gun here, but I think we witnessed esports history today.
In what sense?
In the sense of, we've never seen esports be handled that way on that big of a stage.
In terms of like having the number one broadcasters on,
Yeah,
doing
I
the
mean,
show,
to be
and
taken that serious with that level of execution, right? And I'm not saying that Overwatch League or any Counter-Strike major or anything are poor, right? But to see this transition of esports and traditional sports and the merging of the two worlds, right? It's very difficult, no matter how well the broadcast goes for Overwatch on ESPN, for people just to glom onto it and be like, whoa, this is amazing. They have an analyst desk, right?
yeah,
But for this, you had NASCAR fans. I mean, I scoured Twitter while this was going on, because it was on Fox Sports 1, which is it's not big boy Fox, but it's
big.
yeah, it's big. I was scouring the internet for any negativity on this, and I really couldn't find anything. Like, everyone, even the hardcore NASCAR faithful, really jumped on board and had fun with it.
It was really the most beautiful merger between esports and traditional sports, is what I saw, right? Like, it's different when you have a NBA 2K simulation game and you bring in pro players to play. They're not going to have any sort of, they're not going to be like good at the game as if uh gamer at a
Right.
professional level was playing them, right? That skill doesn't transition over the same way in other sports, just like a NFL player playing in Madden. For this, it's perfect because
Well, they had
yes,
professional drivers.
that's what I'm saying. You could bring in all these professional drivers. You can bring in people of the past, your Jimmy Johnsons and Dale Earnhardt
Well, he's still
Juniors, or
racing,
out.
sir.
But you know what I'm saying? Like people that
Yeah,
are like,
Dale Earnhardt Jr. was there. Bobby
they're
Levante, he was racing. You also had guys who were racing in the Xfinity series, which is like
yep,
the step below NASCAR. You had guys from the Truck series racing. So you had guys from all walks of life in North American motorsports racing all together. And it was really, I think you even had just some professional iRacers, right? Where it's like, they're not drivers. They are gamers in that sense.
yeah.
Racing
But
together.
it's nice because like the casual or the hardcore or the casual fan of NASCAR can relate to that very easily. Again, I think it's so hard to do in other
Well,
esports
it gives
games
it
to find
validity, like right off the bat, right? You go in here and you see a Madden tournament, and you're like, all right, this kid would get destroyed on a football field, right? Like if he was playing the game. Well, what do you have to say this? You have Jimmy Johnson racing in this race, right? You can't be
Yeah.
like, this is a video game, it doesn't matter. When you have, again, when you see the simulators that they're using, it's
like cars. They're
Yeah.
basically cars that they're sitting in, right?
So that's
there.
where I think I got the reasoning of, we saw esports history happen today. And
Yeah,
I hope
think it was the
everyone got
best
a chance to.
merger of traditional sports and esports.
Yeah,
Like,
I hope everyone got a chance to at least look at it. And I will give Fox credit on this too. I think they saw the opportunity. They were like, look, we already have the time slot on the network. Nothing else is going on in the world except for Australian football for whatever reason. Let's just do it. Let's just throw on iRacing. Props to them for using iRacing and not their own actual game, NASCAR Heat. So
Yeah.
there's perks to that, right? They are acknowledging, I guess, the superior game in that sense when it comes to things like this. But I will give Fox credit that they didn't hold back at all either. They had their full-on normal broadcasting team, including Jeff Gordon, calling the race. And from the get-go, they were going over like the tire pressure and the track and how, these players have to watch out for it.
So real. It felt so real,
Yeah.
right? Like you felt like you were watching a normal race, watching it on Sunday, watching the race, except it was happening in a simulation. And secondly, Tim, it looks so damn good that I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Oh, my wife thought it was real.
If I had just flipped by and was watching, might have just thought it was real. Like, it looks that good. So
Yeah.
that's also a
So
positive compared to other games.
Props to everyone involved there. I just thought it was a real treat, with everything going on, that we had a little bit of real sports, but also the esports world getting some credit on this one here. Also kind of cool that Denny Hamlin ended up edging out Dale Earnhardt on the very last turn. And the cool thing about this is before the race, Denny Hamlin tweeted out saying if he wins, he will donate $5,000 to Corona relief somewhere or whatever. So that's kind of cool. He ended up winning on the last race. Don't know if Dale Earnhardt maybe knew that and maybe let off the gas.
No, they're too competitive.
A little bit. Way. I doubt it. Yeah,
no
I agree. But it was number one trending on Twitter. And then on the flip side of the eNASCAR, you also had F1. That's their whole season's been delayed. So they decided to do a virtual Grand Prix today. It wasn't as smooth, a little bit clunky compared to NASCAR. They did not have the full-on broadcasting team, right? This wasn't on TV as far as I knew, but still a success. They were a little bit more esport than eNASCAR was, though, in the sense of they did have a technical delay to start.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's
so I mean, you can't get any more real esports than that. When they had a tech delay, which sucked, though, because originally the race was going to be 50% what the normal race is, which I think is 28 laps. And then because of the tech delay, though, they cut that in half. So the race overall was only 14 laps. Like, it was...
How long was that roughly in time, do you know?
It was a sprint. I mean, maybe 30 minutes. Like, it was...
Okay.
It was quick.
Yeah, short.
It was quick. Because of
a lot of total viewers, though. A lot of people still tuned in to check it out.
That's where I wanted to bring up is so Lando Norris, who is an actual F1 driver, okay, he was streaming this on Twitch as well. He was at, when I looked, 95,000. And then between F1's official streams on YouTube and Twitch alone, I don't know if it might have been other places, but I only looked at those two. Over 200,000. When I looked, they were roughly at 214,000 views.
Once Lando starts seeing what that sub money looks like, he might try to promote this a little bit more.
Yeah. That is insane. The type of reception it got.
For him, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Was it on Twitch?
Yeah. They had it on Twitch and they had it on their YouTube as well.
Well, I'm saying Lando.
Oh, Lando was on Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, he's an actual racer, so it was kind of cool to see. But again, he's younger, and that's the thing. Is like these younger guys, like that's how I think a lot of them.
They'll promote the heck out of this, right? Like this is what they enjoy doing. This is how they practice. Like I heard them talking on the network on the NASCAR race. They were talking about like certain guys out there that are known to be like, not only are they really good professional drivers, but they're awesome like in the simulation. And so they were hyping them up and saying like, this guy is projected to do well because he's known to be really good in this like simulator. Because it is a
tad different, right? Obviously you're driving a real car compared to not. Yeah. And so that's where I guess, I didn't know this, but Dale Earnhardt Jr., he was like, oh, I've always done this. He's like, he's been doing this for like 2 decades, where Jimmy Johnson is like, no, I don't do the simulators. Like, you kidding me? No, I don't do that.
Well, we had one of Dale Earnhardt's guys on the show, friend of the show, and they talked about how much they both kind of enjoy gaming and how he's playing PUBG. It's no shocker that he's been doing racing simulators forever if he's out there like playing PUBG Mobile and getting involved in gaming that way. So that is it was really well done. Again, like bravo to both of them. I thought the NASCAR one in my eyes was really smooth. Even the national anthem and
It
seeing
was
things
just
like that, I
awesome. The
thought
way
that was
they
really
presented
cool.
all that. Yeah, they had an
Yeah.
actual country artist sing the national anthem in a garage,
Yeah.
split screened with the digital crowd from the game. And like I said, but that's where it's like, to me, okay, they took it serious, but they also had fun with it.
Yeah, they didn't green screen the background for him or anything. Like
No.
it was his garage door
Yes.
behind him, and so I thought that was really cool. And the panos that they were doing of the crowd, like the shots of the crowd while that was going
Yeah.
on. Yeah, neat. It was cool to see.
So I have to imagine this is going to happen again. I mean, just wildly success from both ends on the NASCAR
For
side and
sure.
F1. And again, there ain't nothing else going on, Anuj.
Hey, NASCAR is never trending #1 on Twitter, as
Ever.
far as I've known. Like it's never probably trended #1 on Twitter
Not
unless
like
there's a
that,
big accident.
anyways.
Unless there's an accident, right, or something that makes it like makes people general public tune in.
Yeah, yeah, but not like that. Also, breaking news. I just got a text message from EA with Russian text on it. So that can't be good for my EA account that just got hacked live. I'll handle that one later, I suppose. So yeah, I thought it was very cool though to see that. So I think that's a pretty true smooth transition. We can get right into Yikes of the Week with Yikes. My EA account literally was just hacked by Russians, like right now. So
Perfect. Yeah.
that's okay. All right. I'll handle that at another time though. The show comes first, Nuge. Let's what is your Yikes of the Week?
Mine comes from somebody that we all have probably never heard of, but Dave Visaccio. I think I pronounced that right, but Dave Visaccio, for
Sounds
those of
like you nailed it.
that don't know him, he is a Oscar winner for some film that he was in. What is it called? Hick or something like that. It had Oscar winners in it. Anyway, this guy's an actor. He's out here talking some trash, and it really got a lot of heat from the video game community for whatever reason, whatever the issue is in the world. People want to blame video games, right? If it's mass shootings, let's blame video games. If it's, I mean, if it's anything,
Coronavirus, got to be
well,
video games.
got to be video game related, right? Like it's always just find a way to blame them somehow. His tweet, and he titles this "Breaking News." Video game players are urged to play at reasonable times to avoid putting an extra strain on internet networks during the coronavirus outbreak. Online gaming is the biggest threat to the internet bandwidth these next few weeks. End quote.
So I saw this. First off, I did not know he was an actor. I thought this was like some global bigwig telling me what to do.
No, yes, I'm actor.
Okay, so he's just a Joe Schmo. And the fact that now that I know that, and he's coming out with breaking news, first off, people on Twitter like to throw that around. Breaking news or per sources. My favorite thing recently was when Tom Brady announced that he was going to Tampa. And then every like reporter out there was like, "Oh, per sources, Tom Brady has confirmed." Bro, your source was Tom. He tweeted it out.
He let everybody know.
What do you per sources? I have heard from sources that Tom Brady's moving. This is along that same vein of saying breaking news. Here's my opinion. Like,
Yeah,
it's not facts. It's you just it's your opinion.
It's a terrible take for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, gamers in general, although yes, they're off right now, are generally not only playing during peak hours, right? Like it's kind of spread out throughout the day, nighttime especially, right? Like late night gaming on weekends and things of that sort. But the reason that this is a bad take more than anything is the amount of bandwidth that gaming actually takes. And people have now gone through and posted all this stuff to give you numbers. But in general, gaming takes anywhere between 70 megabytes to 50 megabytes to 100 megabytes an hour, where something like Netflix takes up like 1 to 3 gigs an hour. And so it's just a bad take all around. Big yikes. It unfortunately got so much attention. This dude got like 44,000 likes on this. and got a lot of heat too, obviously from the gaming community. But it's unfortunate that crap like that gets spread. So big yikes from me.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Also, I could think of one other activity that would use a lot more bandwidth. Rolling the dice, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but how much?
Not mine though. I wouldn't use that because that's like what 5 seconds.
This was gonna say, how much streaming can
Like
you, how much bandwidth are you taking?
I'm using how much 5 seconds of streamed video? How much bandwidth is in 5 seconds?
4K VR.
The amount of time setting up my VR headset wouldn't be worth it. My yikes of the week. I did reset my EA password, so for all those concerned, the Russians are no longer in my EA account, so suck it, Putin. My yikes of the week comes from the ESL. I don't even know who to put this on, Anuj, because at first I wanted to say yikes to Flashpoint, but then I wanted to say yikes to ESL. I don't know what's going on here. But all of a sudden, so yesterday was my wife's birthday. Couldn't do much with the whole quarantine thing going on, so that was a little interesting. But so wife's birthday, I'm kind of off the grid, right? I'm being the good husband, the good dad. I'm not going to constantly be on my phone or anything like that. But then all of a sudden, my phone's blowing up, and I see that it's our Discord. I'm like, well, okay, I got to see what's going on here. And it's been announced that MIBR is joining ESL. And at first I was like, oh my God, someone check on Thorn. Like, is the man alive? Someone, I need a wellness check on Thorn, please. And then it turned out that, no, they're still going to play in Flashpoint. So now you're playing in both leagues. So MIBR and ESL are completely cucking Flashpoint at this stage in the game. Flashpoint now is just watching them just make sweet, passionate love in front of them, as Flashpoint is still trying to walk away with some pride in all this.
So is your yikes now then focused at Flashpoint or MIBR?
So this is what I don't blame no, nothing with MIBR. MIBR beat the system. You figured it out. That's a congratulations of the week. MIBR might get a Timmy later in the year for beating the system, because as far as I understand, ESL was the league where you weren't allowed to be in other competitive leagues. Like, they had the stricter rules, where Flashpoint was, yeah, you can play in anything else. We don't care. Now, I think that opinion might change a little bit for Flashpoint when that other league is the direct competitor league that's pretty much fleeced you on every aspect of this Flashpoint versus ESL debate. So I know, like, Thorn and all them couldn't have been thrilled with the fact that they went to ESL. But like, ESL bent the knee on this one. So I think it's maybe like a 2-for-1 yikes on this one. Like, yikes, Flashpoint, your teams are now looking at moving to ESL, but also yikes to ESL for immediately ignoring your rule right off the bat.
Yeah, it definitely, this is like a big yikes for Flashpoint, in the sense that it's just a bad look, right? Like, it's just devaluing
everything going on with them.
Your league has 3 teams in the top 20. Now one of those teams is competing in the better league, right? So even less of a reason to really try and catch those games on Flashpoint. But for MIBR, this is huge. You know, it's not their fault that the new system, the way it works in terms of being able to qualify for bigger tournaments like ESL One Cologne, are done through the ESL Pro ranking system. And because they're not competing in Pro League, they're not getting an opportunity to gain those points, those valuable points, to be able to qualify for some of the biggest tournaments in the world. And so, you know, for example, this is going to hurt a team like Cloud9, right? Cloud9's not going to have that opportunity.
Oh, that's why they're not qualifying for ESL One New York.
They look good right now. They're about to win their group in Flashpoint, you know, and so whether they were going to do it or not, they just don't have that opportunity really to garner those points unless they do really well and get high up in ESL's rank. So for MIBR, big play. They're not going to qualify
BDP
anyway.
right there. BDP.
Yeah, they're not going to qualify anyway, but at least this is a way for us to acknowledge that their run
ESL
is
was like,
truly over.
we really don't want you playing in both leagues, and then MIBR unzipped their pants and whipped out the Brazilian viewership numbers, and ESL was like, oh, okay, Furia ain't bringing in that much. We'll need another one.
Yeah, we'll take it for the group stage at least.
Speaking of viewership, I'm just coming up with yikes off the top of my head, but earlier today, the waiting screen for ESL Pro League, where it showed like the countdown at 50 minutes left before they even come back, was outdoing Flashpoint's. Who was it? Contact versus someone, whoever they were playing today. By wide number, like more than double.
It earlier yesterday, and it was like 60K to 18K roughly.
Yeah.
Also, the teams that were playing for Flashpoint were not one of their more premier teams, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, the viewership is going to be fairly lopsided when they're on at the same time. But I do think Flashpoint will do well when they're running solo,
which I think was not supposed to be a thing, right? Like they weren't supposed to be playing at the same time, but because this whole coronavirus messing up everyone's schedule, they're now forced to be playing, which is, again, a key factor into why MIBR was even able to join ESL, because now that they're all playing from home, you don't have to worry about traveling or studio. It's all online. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, when they were doing the LAN setup, obviously you couldn't be in two places at once, so that wasn't going to allow them to participate in both leagues. But yeah, like Tim said, because it's online, they now have an opportunity to play in both, and they beat the system here, and we'll just see how they do in either one, right? They're about to play, I think, in the losers bracket for Flashpoint, and we'll see how they do in ESL against the top team. They're definitely not one of them right now, so this would be a good chance to prove themselves.
Yep. All right. So let's get on here then. So those are our yikes. If you have any yikes of the week that we missed or you want to touch on for next Monday's show, hit us up on Twitter at The Center Ring. Tag us with your yikes, and we'll definitely give you a shout out on the show for sure. This could have been a yikes, but it deserves its own pedestal, Anuj, to sit on, because, I mean, this is to me, so stereotypical Navi, because earlier in the week in the ESL Pro League, if you were hiding under a rock and didn't know, I know our Discord was blowing up about it. Also, awesome that this happened on Thursday, because again, I'm not able to watch the matches a lot while I'm at work, because obviously the boss man doesn't appreciate me having one of my monitors dedicated to esports. He just doesn't. I tried explaining to him, but for whatever reason, he doesn't
get it.
He doesn't seem to understand. But at home, I got like 6 monitors, so I can have them on. So finally, I get to watch one of these matches in the morning for the EU side, and boy, oh boy, was it one that I'm glad I didn't miss, because Navi ended up losing to Big 2-0, which should have been a story in itself, but when you look back and see how they lost, unreal. Unreal, but at the same time, so Navi, because s1mple ended up in one of these maps on Dust 2, dropping a 50 bomb, and they lost.
And like he almost dropped the 50 in regulation.
Yes, it went into overtime, but it wasn't even like in overtime. He didn't even get the majority of the kills.
Yeah, like he was like 46, and I don't. He had a ridiculous record in regulation time. He had put up some fascinating numbers, and you're right, because it is so Navi like. Now, what the talk everywhere that we're seeing right now is, oh, they need to do something. They need to make a change, but like people forget so quickly. Just a few weeks ago, we were talking about how Navi made it through one of the most challenging gauntlets of Katowice, which was major-esque in terms of teams that we saw in that event, and made it through there in dominating fashion, right? Like looked really good, handled G2 easily in the finals, and really looked like the best team in the world during that time. Now here we are, fast forward a couple weeks later, and people are saying, oh, what changes can this team make? S1mple was just on another level.
They are first on HLTV's ranking. So
yeah,
not very often are you number one in the world and everyone is saying the roster needs to be blown up.
it was unfortunate that everybody around him just was nowhere near.
And that's where it's
the one.
stereotypical Navi to me, because this, I feel like, God bless Simple. This always happens to him, I feel like, is he's struggling, and then the team might be doing well, but Simple's not doing as hot. And then, like, for once in a while, they'll line up, they'll get to number 1 or 2 in the world, and then, like, the rest of the team just drops off, and Simple's back to being Simple, the hard carry. He is LeBron in Cleveland the first time around, right? Like, it's just, no matter what he was doing on Thursday, they weren't going to win.
Yeah, the LeBron and Cleveland thing is like right for this one particular event, right? Like I think the talent around Simple isn't bad, right? Like I think they're really good players from Boomage to Flamey, Electronic, obviously, like all these guys. Perfecto obviously still being the one unknown. He had a really tough nuke. I think he was like 4 and 18 something nuke. But yeah, this is how it does go with Navi. Simple has some amazing games. Other people unfortunately don't step up at the right time. When they do align, you see some beautiful CS, and that wasn't the case for this one. Tim, nobody else was even positive on Navi on either of the maps, and Simple was plus 31
Yeah.
on Dust 2.
With an average
like there wasn't even
ADR of
another
127.
Yeah, he posted
127
ADR plus on both maps.
It is unreal. And I know, like, there was even people in our Discord, I think I saw on Twitter too, like some people were saying how Simple needs to get off the team. Like, he's got to find a team that's worth it for him. First off, he's the number 1 player in the world. There is no team that is worthy of him, right? Like, I would say in that sense, that's where he outdoes ZywOo for me. Because just like raw talent alone, Simple is on another level when it comes to situations like this.
Raw talent and amazing talent over a long period of time, right? Like ZywOo is like new. He had a really good, he had a really amazing 2019. Now let's see him do it for like a couple years in a row. He started off slow this year. His team's not doing too hot this year. Granted, that changes with Alex and all that, but still, like he hasn't looked like the ZywOo of old. Even when Simple's performing poorly, though, it's never disastrous, right? Like it's just like an average game.
Well, it's like it's funny. It's like if Simple, it's almost how Nico used to be, because I don't consider Nico a top 5 player anymore, right? Like he's fallen so far off my radar. But it's almost like it's like if they don't get the clutch 3v1, it's like you gotta get those Simple. You gotta get the 3v1s. I don't know what you want.
You gotta win those.
You gotta win those, bud. And also, Navi would rather buy out the 4 other contracts than lose Simple.
That's the thing that I was gonna say is, can you imagine what the buyout for Simple would be? Like if you're selling Simple,
unreal
over $1
amount.
million, over $1 million easily. I mean, we'll talk about a buyout here in just a moment, but considering what that person was being valued at for 3 months worth of work, I would think Simple's buyout's easily 5 million plus. Like how could you like not value him? There's just no way.
Navi would rather pay the other 4 guys on that roster to leave before giving up Simple at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't let Simple walk. You build the roster around Simple. And I don't think Simple would leave Navi. I mean, people got to remember, Navi was that's his childhood team, right? Like Simple is young enough to where he has a childhood team that he always wanted to play on, and Navi was that team. So,
and he gets to stay local. There's not many options for him to like move to stay local. Like he's tried the US stuff. Like people forget he was here on Liquid, right? And that's not something that he necessarily cared to do. And so he left because he wanted to go back home. And so his choices are limited in that region. So yeah, he's going to be on Navi for this.
Yeah. So stay hard, Simple though, man. Dropping a 50 bomb and losing. Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Cause like, what do you, as a teammate, what do you say to them? Like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry you went 54 and 23 with 127.2 ADR and we lost.
And nobody was actually horrendous on that map. So that's the one blessing, is that Simple didn't kill one of them after the game, because although none of them had a positive rating, like nobody was just
Yeah, to be on Nuke, it was even like the disparity was worse. He was 27 and 13. And I think next up was like 12 kills or something like that,
Yeah.
like 12 or 13 kills. So
Like Electronics will put up 31 kills. It's a lot of kills, even
yeah,
in
still
overtime. Yeah.
still a little bit there, but unreal performance by S1mple. Just had to give a shout out to that. Next here though, more CS drama. Man, it was like the CS drama alert was just buzzing
Nonstop.
buzzing
Yeah.
over the weekend because we have this next one, which I kind of want to handle it in a few parts because I feel like you almost have to. And that's with Astralis. They sign a sixth man and pisses everyone off. So they end up signing. How do you say his name?
S tag.
S-Tag. Okay, that's what I thought. The three is silent.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they end up signing S-Tag, who is on Heroic / Fun Plus Phoenix, maybe, which is part of the issue here, as a sixth man. So that's a key thing, right? They didn't sign him to replace anyone. They're not replacing anyone. They want that sub-in player. The issue with this, because that's actually a genius move. I think more teams should probably.
It's been done before, and it hasn't worked out in the past. Now the reasons it hasn't worked out for, it's different for each team. Obviously, now it's not. It's unusual to have a team this good sign a sixth man because it's like, what are you really doing? Like, you have to find out what the rules are in place. Like, can you sub mid series? Can you sub at half? Like, how is that handled? Um, I don't know for Astralis if this was the best thing personally,
See, I
but
like it. I like
unless
it.
they know something is like happening, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna have Magisk out for an Dupree is gonna be out for
Yeah.
the next 2 months or something. Okay, it makes sense to bring in somebody more
And
long
like you
term.
can do subs like Blast tweeted out today clarifying their substitution rules and they cover all that, so you're good on that. I like the move for Astralis, and that's mainly because we have always seen the one thing that's been Astralis is a consistent machine, right? Like consistency is what made them number 1 in the world. It's also though what makes them number 2 in the world in the sense of they are consistently at the start of every competitive season slow to get going, right? Or even after like maybe a major, they're slow to get going. Maybe that's the six man can help and relieve, like, hey, give some of your guys a break here and there, right? Maybe not. Dupree maybe doesn't have to travel to LA this week for a tournament. We'll use the six man. Dupree, you take a break, refuel, and we'll come back and hit it going, right?
What's the benefit of this for the sixth man if the sixth man is already on a good team though? Like, it's not like
Joining Astralis, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but like if you're gonna be like a backup in that, if you're used in that capacity
Yeah.
as a one-off guy, you got to think Astralis is gonna want to play with their core five.
Yeah, because I definitely
majority of the
don't think
time.
there is no chance S-Tag sees the starting roster
No, and
as
but
a
that's what I'm
permanent
saying, right? Like,
basis. There's no
what
chance.
percentage of tournaments do you think that Astralis wants to have their core five in throughout the year, especially like leading up to large events, right? Like you
Yeah.
could think of it like as a golfer, as he's about to go play in the major, he always going to play in 2 or 3 events prior just to get his feet wet and make sure he's like, in his normal routine.
Yeah.
Um,
But think of it almost like maybe not NFL, but in college, you want to rest up maybe football, right? You want to rest up your QB before going in the playoffs, so you have your backup start. Well, this could be where maybe you have the group stage is locked, or you're at least know you're making it through. Okay, we'll give one of your guys a rest, because in some cases you can even, like Blast, you can have 2 subs. So Zonic, they could even sub in the coach and S-Tag, giving 2 players a rest in a game that they know is somewhat meaningless, or it doesn't matter if they lose, right? It's whatever. We're still in the playoffs, or they still think they can win it. Now, with Counter-Strike or in general, or just esports, we've kind of seen where if you're not playing, you really do get cold. Like, you kind of need that, but we'll figure that out down the road.
I should clarify where I don't like this a little bit. I'm okay with Astralis having the 6th man for the reasons that you mentioned. I think that to me, this feels like the Golden State Warriors type scenario here, where we are seeing a really good player go to a position that should be held by like a bench warmer in my eyes. Somebody getting pulled up from MDL type situation, right? A tier two player that's willing to set the bench to learn from the best and then hopefully elevate his career and get onto a good team from there, right? Into the
Yeah.
pros. I think it's a weird signing from S Tag's point of view because he is an established, really good player, up and coming player
Well,
on
on
a
a roster
team
that just signed with a league.
on a roster that first of all has a lot of financial backing, right? If you're going to Fun Plus Phoenix, it's not like that's a broke organization. And you have like a guaranteed league spot, right? Like that spot is Fun Plus Phoenix, a spot. Like they own the spot. And so I think it's an odd move from his standpoint because I feel like he's not going to become a better player because of this. I think it's really hard in video games to not be the main person continuously playing and playing a backup role, even if that's in practice, right? Unless somebody's missing practice that often and it's always somebody missing, right? Like, oh, Majesk is sick today. Oh, Device is sick tomorrow. Like, that doesn't happen probably
Yeah.
that often. So
Well, we
he's
see
going to
that too,
be,
like with Overwatch, right? Like in Overwatch League, or even Call of Duty League, right? You have those bench players, you have those backups for if the situation ever comes up. How many times though do those bench players never see the light of day? Right? We've seen on Dallas Fuel alone, there were guys last season who literally never played once on the main stage. Like they are the sole purpose a scrim team for your pro team. So yeah, I do. I'm curious.
oh,
Astralis has to have a plan in place to do this.
for Overwatch, I find it so different though because there's like a limited number of teams that you can like really be on, right? Like there's only like
I mean,
team, however
right?
many
Yeah.
teams
I mean,
are.
yes,
Like
in the
in
sense
Counter
of why you
Strike,
would be a backup. I'm just saying though, from like you said,
yeah,
like being in the rhythm, right? We never see it. We never see that backup player ever get into a rhythm as far as Astralis has to have a plan going in. They have to.
yeah. I mean, you would think that they have something lined up.
Like maybe they told S Tag like, hey, look, this is the calendar coming up. We're gonna need you in these tournaments, so you at least know you're gonna play or something.
Yeah,
It's something. So
yeah. It's just an interesting move. I'm really curious to see. Like, so a lot of this, where we should kind of take this conversation.
yeah, so now we played nice. Okay. We analyzed this as professionals and did not let emotion get in our way. So now let's get into why this pisses everyone off.
Yeah, this is a really tough situation for what are we calling him?
I
Fun
think
Plus Phoenix or
heroic at this point.
Okay, so Heroic was being in the process of being bought out by Fun Plus Phoenix. Heroic was holding at this point now an ESL slot, which they lost to Big because they were selling their roster off to Fun Plus Phoenix, who had a slot in Flashpoint. Are we all there with me so far?
Yep.
So Heroic selling roster to Fun Plus Phoenix. Fun Plus Phoenix was now joining Flashpoint. They're about to go live. They're getting ready to play Orglis in the lower bracket finals or maybe upper bracket finals, whatever. One of the bracket finals there. They were getting ready to play. Fun Plus Phoenix is warming up and they get the call. Hey guys, your match is being forfeited. You're losing the match. This sale is happening for your player. S Tag is now confirmed to join Astralis starting July 1. So
Oh, and
July
by the
1,
way, you guys are eliminated for phase 1.
by the way, you're eliminated for phase 1. You have to basically win out in phase 2 to have a chance at the playoffs at the end of the year. And so now what's happening is they've lost their slot through Heroic because Heroic no longer has the ESL slot. They couldn't provide a roster, so they gave it up big. Fun Plus Phoenix is potentially backing out of the deal because they're losing one of the star players in this deal and they're losing him for nothing. Okay. They're losing him for $0. His contract is expiring. He is already signed with them, so he is gone starting July 1.
Yeah.
They could have sold him for something because they have his rights for the next 3 months, but they were asking Tim for $800,000.
Now that's
S
partially
Tag.
on their part.
Yeah, that's a
I mean, if you know this guy, if you knew this guy was leaving and you're in a 3-month window, that's called bad negotiating. If all he's got to do is sit around and now he has a 3-month vacation, he can go hang out with Astralis but not play with them. Dude, get what you can from him, right? Like what is his worth for 3 months?
And now this is also coming from Astralis' CEO, Nikolai Nylum, who has been notoriously in the news for like just a lot of bullshit that he says. Like you have to catch him when he says
Right.
it. It's some of it's right, some of it's incorrect. We do have to wait for Fun Plus Phoenix or Heroic to come out and make some sort of statement or contradict his statements that he
Because
did make.
Eric
But
Askert is how I'm going to say that. The CEO of Heroic, he did make a statement to HLTV, but he didn't say much. He was like, look, I can't say much because of legal reasons, but I can tell you that we know Astralis pretty much did this dirty. Like they did us
yeah,
dirty. They did not do fair practice or whatever it is. And this has considerably affected the sale of Heroic to Fun Plus Phoenix.
yeah, because for Fun Plus Phoenix, they thought they were buying like a top 20 roster. You lose one of your players, now you're having to buy in 2 million for this slot in, you know, Pro League for Flashpoint. So caused a lot of stir. You feel bad for players like Cadian. Like this dude's been like dealt with so much
Someone
BS
find
from like
Cadian and give him a hug.
dude from like Ghost Gaming, I believe, to like the situation now. Like I feel like it's happened to him a handful of times. And so
I just imagine
um
all the players on that roster thinking, hey, we have a spot in a league that is promised to pay us. Yeah, it might not be the Premier League, but it's a league with people who care about it, which doesn't happen very often in a team-owned league, nonetheless, right? Like you were going to be on a team with some ownership, some say in this league. And now, not only does that crashing into you're losing a teammate, but you might not be in the league at all.
period. Yeah. Yeah, they might lose their spot altogether. I really don't know how this is going to turn out. Like, I really have no clue because if this doesn't work out and they lose the Plus Phoenix sale, and then Heroic no longer has their spot, like, can they buy that or that Flashpoint spot from Fun Plus, or is Fun Plus going to field another roster? Can they be the 9th team to possibly join as a partner team for Flashpoint? Because Flashpoint's original plan was to start with what 10 or 12 and ended
10,
up with
yeah.
8. So they ended up with 8 at the end of the day. So like,
It's
could
all
they buy a slot?
it's all over the place. And at this point, the Flashpoint front office has just got to be banging their head on the table. Like, what do we got to do, guys, to have stability here? Why does it seem like everything for ESL is going right and everything for us is blowing up in our faces?
It's just been a shit show.
I mean, they
It really
can't,
has.
and a lot of this has been out of their control with Flashpoint. Like Astralis not signing with them when it appeared that they were going to sign with them, out of their control. Well, even though that was partially like the CEO of Astralis pretty much called out saying, well, it's because you guys got Thorn, which is why we're not doing it. But apart from that, a lot of this has been out of Flashpoint's control. So you kind of feel for them at that sense where it's just like all they want to do is focus on Counter-Strike and building this league up. And yet it seems like every week a team is dropping out or moving to the other league or players are dropping out. At this point, they just got to think this is ridiculous.
It seems real messy. It seems really messy.
And I guess from a legal standpoint, you don't know if there was any type of tampering or what the CEO of Heroic was meaning by, Astralis, didn't play nice.
They didn't do it in good faith, right?
They didn't do it in good faith. So what does that mean?
Yeah, like I don't know if that means like they did something illegal or they just, hey, they screwed us and they
Right.
knew they were screwing us, but like they're allowed to because his contract was up. They just didn't do it like in good, like they really just like they shook our hand, but behind our backs they were stabbing the whole time, And so a lot of this information will get sorted out, and we'll probably have to like come back and just there's going to be a lot of things to follow up on this story, right? The situation between Heroic and Fun Plus, right? You want to know what's going to happen there. Where are these teams going to end up? Where are the players now from Heroic or Fun Plus going to end up? And then most importantly, again, is how is Astralis going to handle the situation with the sixth man. I'm like so intrigued to really see what they do here because I don't think it's a trend that we're going to see a lot of. Like, if you think CS:GO teams who are losing money already are going to all
Hiring
go
a
sign a player at S tags level, what they might do is go sign that MDL guy who's not making a lot, right?
It also
But I
has to
don't.
be a roster though that's extremely comfortable with their starting five. Like the only time you're hiring a guy who is a six man and straight up you're because we've seen it a lot, Anuj, where there's a starting five and then you move a guy to the bench,
Yeah.
right? We saw that the rotating door of Cloud9, they constantly had someone on their bench.
NIP and things like that.
But
You've
it
seen
was
it
never
with
as the six man. It was just, hey, you lost your spot on the starting roster and we have nowhere
Yeah.
else to put you. This was specifically, we hired him to be our bench guy, right? He's the bench man. He's the six man in. You have to be extremely comfortable with your roster to be like, guys, your jobs are not at risk for this. It almost has to be a player decision, right? Like it almost has to be the players going to the org being like, guys, we need someone, right? This is getting rough.
It'll be interesting to see if this was a player decision because I don't think this is 100% a player decision. They haven't been playing well enough to feel all that confident about no change at all could be coming. Not to say that there was a change on the brink, right? Like I don't think they were going to make a change 2 weeks from now if they had another poor performance. But let's also be real. Like Astralis has not been Astralis for the last few months here. Like they have not looked like the same team. They
Yeah.
played poorly in their events. They've beaten a couple of teams here and there, but for the most part, even when they beat Ents, they still dropped a map to Ents. Ents is a team you don't drop a map to, right? Like it's a team you do not lose to. But the way that they're playing, and even in that map was a little shaky. So it's odd timing because yes, they seem like the one team that could handle having a sixth man, right? When you talk about confidence and egos and personalities on that team, you'd think they would be able to handle it. Just the timing is again like a little weird. I understand it has to do with the contract situation. That's why the timing is what it is. But um, I wonder what their long term plan is. Are they planning on doing a swap here? Is there a potential retirement coming up? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, so we'll keep a close eye on that. But for now, let's get into some e-news. But before we do, make sure you download Thrive Fantasy for your daily fantasy sports app for prop bets. Doesn't matter that sports are dead at the moment because esports are alive and strong, and Thrive Fantasy has that for you. You can enter the code TCR upon sign up, and that will get you a clean $10 match on your first deposit of minimum $10. So you walk away with $20 for free. You gamble responsibly, easy peasy. That's how it's done at Thrive Fantasy. All right, let's get into some e-news. With CSGO,
Tim Mistua, Alex's replacement, just went 0-18 versus Team Spirit. They did lose that series.
the
I
exact
just thought this
opposite
was
of
like
Simple.
worth putting out there
Like,
because you
Simple
don't
dropped a-
see it over.
Simple dropped a 50 bomb, and he went the exact opposite.
Like 0-18. That is a very. I mean that just again does not happen often.
So let's
see-
play my favorite game. Could you do it?
Yeah, 100%. I think I could have honestly beat his ADR too, because I think his ADR was like in the 20s or 30s, and I can get some accidental nade damage or molly damage here and there. Hit the kneecap of somebody running a corner because my crosshair placement isn't great.
At what point do you just tell him, like, dude, just camp the flank? Just watch the flank and
or
hold it.
I mean, you're online. Pull the cord and say you're having a modem problem. This is an online event. You are not on stage. This is the one opportunity for you to have it out. Around 0-10, Tim, I'm pulling it. I'm going to say I'm having internet problems.
You're
Sorry.
thinking of options here.
This is where
0-18,
the
that's
sixth
rough.
man would have been handy. This is where the sixth man would have been needed.
That makes our recent tournament performance look pretty good. That 0-18
really
is
does.
pretty rough.
It really does.
Speaking of Astralis and how they can afford paying a sixth player, I don't know, because the Astralis group reported a net loss of $5 million for their 2019 in their first annual report.
And that's interesting because like they're also a growing org in the sense of maybe a lot of that money was also spent on like infrastructure costs and like the helping the growth, and that's
I
why
don't know
it's at
enough about business to.
like that's why it could be like a negative right now. But a lot of companies early on, I know, do like obviously operate at a loss, but I feel like they've had enough chip deals, been very good at what they've been in for a couple of years now. So maybe they'll turn that corner here, and there's more to this than really what we see as a blanket news statement.
In Overwatch, no. So we were gonna talk some Overwatch League. This was gonna be the
We were.
weekend, guys. This was it. We made an effort. We were gonna talk some Overwatch League, and the matches were canceled again because California has issued a statewide stay-at-home policy, encouraging and borderline enforcing everyone now to say, okay, we're not kidding. We told you to stay home, but you still went shopping into the beaches. We mean it this time. Stay at home. Done. So Blizzard honored that and said, okay, well, that means we can't have people in the studio. Completely destroying any hopes of Overwatch League matches, I gotta say, for the near future. Because at first they moved them all online, but now you can't even have guys in the studio to broadcast it.
Why couldn't they do it like wasn't League of Legends like set up a studio in somebody's house for them, like a little broadcast studio?
And maybe
where
that's
they were...
maybe that's the, I mean, Blizzard has like their own studio, so they probably don't have a house for backup, but maybe that's what they do now.
Yeah.
You
You kind of hope they figure out a solution to get these games going, right?
Yeah.
Because Overwatch has like also been out of sight for quite some time. Obviously, a lot of this is out of their hand, but like now they need to be a little bit more progressive and finding a way to get these games played and online. Everybody else is managing to do it. This is the one industry where you're able to do it. You just have to find a way to do it. And so hopefully in this next week, they understand what the policies are now. They can get something set up and get these games back.
You could just be like Flashpoint and say F that rule and still do it from the studio. I mean, they were working on a skeleton crew, but nonetheless, they were still in their studios in California. So it's still possible, I guess. I don't know. But Call of Duty is going to be in the same boat with their matches being postponed. But that being said, Overwatch was at least discussed a little bit over the week as they drop a new hero, Echo. Of course, Echo has been a very big anticipated hero. She made her debut in the Ash reveal trailer. Everyone thought she was going to be the new hero at the same time, like they were going to drop two at once. And Blizzard was like, nah. She's a ways away. And so now what, like over a year later, they finally revealed her. Everyone thought, I would have put money that she was going to be a support player. Some people said off tank. No, it's another DPS. So there you go. You got another DPS.
Is that a bad thing though, with the way that it's currently set up?
No, I mean people like DPS. DPS are the money makers, right? DPS are your wide receivers, your QBs.
Were you hoping for a support or off tank type player?
For Q times, I was hoping for a fun off tank player because off tanks are brutal.
Let's go from the esports perspective. Like, what would have been better for the game in your mind? Do you think this was like a good move to have another good? Because this is like supposed to be a pretty badass character from what I've heard.
Oh, I mean, well, so they did typical Blizzard fashion. If anyone has played any sort of Blizzard game, anytime a new character or anything is revealed, they're overpowered as shit to start with. And Echo is no exception. She's so overpowered, Anuj, they're already patching her and nerfing her in the PTR. When was the last time Blizzard changed anything in the PTR that you remember?
Yeah.
She is so ridiculous. She has like this jump that allows her to fly around the map and gets to the other side in like a second. She's got this
can kill people pretty easily when they're right on them. It looks
the beam ability is ridiculous. Her ultimate lets you copy another hero with their ultimate already at the ready. She's ridiculous. So I hope she's fun to watch, but she also just might be a little too ridiculous for the game.
Don't nerf her. Let it in for a couple of weeks. Give it to us.
If she's a tank buster, I think it will be fun, but the issue is...
If you want to talk about the new dive meta, like this could be the new dive setup,
But that's the thing, right? Like if she's a tank buster, it's cool. If she's a squishy melter, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be an issue. At least with a Widow or McCree, the headshots are exciting. The beam and tracking, I don't know. I don't know. So either way, though, I'm excited to try her out. Like I said, it's just she's been rumored to be released for so long, and to finally have a new character is exciting in itself.
Yeah.
And I guess, drop it now and shit, you might be able to have her in the game by the time you guys come back to play. You don't even have to wait for a stage. In Dota, a handful of the Chinese Dota teams have decided to unionize, including VC Gaming, Newbie, Invictus, LGD, just to name some of the big ones here. This is kind of a direct effect because of the corona outbreak. A lot of the players realized, damn, a lot of our income was just taken away from us by these canceled events. We should probably do something about that. So they formed a union. The headline is exciting, much like how we see in Counter-Strike, call me when you do something.
Let's see what y'all are able to do.
It's great that you guys have a union, but do you have any muscle to push people around with, or are the orgs still controlling you? It's, call me later. Call me later on that one. Another fallout, though, from this corona pandemic that is going on, Team Reciprocity have had to drop their Rainbow Six team and their Rocket League team, stating financial difficulties and an owning downturn in the global market. Now, the headline, though, buried the lead on this story, because then when I watched the video of the CEO talking, he threw out there that Reciprocity, as an org, will have to dismantle and letting go their staff in the next coming of weeks.
Yeah, I watched that video. That was pretty hard to watch because that org's been around for some time. They've done really well in Call of Duty and
the console scene, I think, has seen them more than the PC scene.
Yeah, and they've done well there, so you just kind of...
Well, I don't understand the whole business lingo, and I don't want to bore people, but it sucks because it seems like it wasn't their fault. They were in the midst of building up capital and getting owners, investments or some, am I wrong?
Yeah, they said that they had a series of investors lined up to help fund the business because of everything that's happened in the economy.
All of it pulled out.
They just gone to crap. They all pulled out, and so they lost their investments, which is not going to allow them to pay their staff and keep going forward and pay salaries. And
so mentally, for months,
responsible thing though,
of
right?
course,
you see the denials and all that of the world that'll just keep it going with promises to pay. Well, he's leaving a good mark here for himself to return at some point when life does get a little bit better for everybody. Hopefully they can bounce back from it, and he did it the right way. So, you obviously really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just bad timing on their end, and you hate to see it. It definitely sucks, but you said, at least it's not. Could have been worse. For the players, I guess the orcs are going down. So for him, it can't get worse.
Yeah.
So kind of a bad pep talk, but And here's some lighter note though for you. In other news, Razer has announced that they're going to convert a number of their manufacturing lines to produce surgical masks, and they plan to make up to or around 1 million to send out to countries and hospitals in need.
I saw that. I saw the tweet from the CEO, and that's pretty awesome, right? You're seeing that with at least locally for us, we've seen a lot of distilleries around here that have converted their shops into making hand sanitizer and are shipping it out to hospitals and things like that. You've seen, local food shops supplying food to healthcare workers, and we're just seeing people step up everywhere. And it's unfortunate that it takes something like this to do that, but it's nice to see it happening, right? To not forget the human aspect of this. And so props to Razer for stepping up in a tough situation and changing the way that they operate to be able to help people. That's really awesome. And you hope others kind of take lead and do, we see Liquid is doing a 24-hour stream today for donation. So right after you're done listening to this, if you're watching live, you can go check them out and and donate to it to help fight everything that's going on right now. So a lot of people are stepping up in different areas, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's and just even on that note too, it's like I was talking to my wife about it just on the corona topic, and it's like this I feel like is just the beginning for us in the States. Like they're talking, I'm hearing now that it could go on to like July or August.
Well, yeah, Trump even said it himself like last week or earlier in the week that like, this could go on till, like you said, July, August timeframe.
And so
Right now
for
we're
me,
seeing shutdowns.
yeah,
Delaware did a shutdown till May 12th, stay at home. And that's out all the way out till May. So, we're seeing it happen. Don't be surprised, like if
Yeah.
we're all kind of stuck indoors. For
so
quite some time.
don't be a dick. Help those out in need, and be a good person. Tell them TCR sent you. Speaking of, I didn't even throw this in e-news though. It was too emotional. I couldn't even bring it up. But I'm going to fight through it. DreamHack Dallas, not canceled. I'm still correct. They did not cancel it. They just moved it back to August 14th. Literally,
I can live with that.
the worst weekend because the day before my wife was like, "Are you doing anything August 14th?" No, my schedule's good. And she's like, "Great," because my friend rescheduled her wedding for that weekend. And then like the next
Done.
morning I got that email and I was like, "God damn it." God.
But you got permission, right?
Yeah, I got permission.
That's all you need, Tim.
We're-
We have to run with that for now. It's like all we have.
I have 30 days for her to change her mind. After that I will have it in a contract because that's when I can't get a refund anymore.
Yeah, no, that's all. It's all good news all the way around, though. Like that needed to be rescheduled. I didn't want that lingering around and wondering what we're gonna do. So,
So that's good.
no,
Good.
no
Hopefully it
worries.
doesn't get, hell. Like we said though, if this goes to August, who knows? Who knows?
I wanted to add one more to the e-news here for Half-Life Alyx coming out on VR, coming out tomorrow. Counter-Strike has also added a lot of in-game items for the release of that. So there's like a new music, skin and stickers and all that. So just kind of like they did with Halo when that released. Obviously, this being much closer. Counter-Strike coming from Half-Life, but it comes out tomorrow, and that's on VR. So for those of you that still have your VR headsets, get them out of the closet. I know they're probably tucked away. I will buy it. I have not bought it. I'm not in a huge rush to get it, other than the fact that like I am now at home for the next
for
few
real.
weeks.
How much is it?
I don't know. I really have. My guess is 60. I'm guessing they're charging a full price game.
I know Doom came out and that's 60, and I'm at a stage in life where I don't pay $60 for games.
The only reason I would pay 60 for the Half-Life game is the fact that I am, like I said, I'm at home, and this is the perfect time to probably try a VR game because I have the time to do it. For a game like Doom, no way I'm paying 60. I'm waiting for
that thing's gonna be on
the
sale
half-off
for the
sale.
summer sale for 50% off.
Yeah, in just a few weeks here, probably.
Yeah, like I feel like you're kind of a sucker if you buy Doom for $60.
The only games, guys, we're gonna go ahead and give you this side information. The only games you buy at full price are esports games because we all know we're trying to go pro day one, and you cannot be behind the competition when a multiplayer game releases. But with
That's a
single-player
curve you
game,
don't want to flatten.
No, for sure. With this one though, yeah, you could wait a week to a couple weeks. I mean, honestly, a couple of weeks, and these all go on sale. We see it all.
Yeah, single player games I don't need. I'm not spending $60 on a single player game.
Even Cyberpunk, I'm gonna wait a couple of weeks. I don't need it like.
I'll get the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC in it for free.
Yeah.
That's just how that's called being an adult gamer. That's pretty much how you do it. That's how you do it. And that's how you do episode 223 of the Center Ring. I don't even know if I said that at the start. But this was episode 223. Appreciate you listening. Whether you skipped around or listened to the whole darn thing, love you all the same. Thank you for Alt for sponsoring the show. Go check them out, altesports.com. Again, our merch is up there for pre-order. So if you haven't done so already, we've heard from a lot of you guys that you have. So we definitely appreciate it. It's insane to think people are going to be wearing TCR merch, but I love it. So we've heard from some of you. You could still pre-order it. That ships in April 6th, I believe.
Yeah.
So I know that first round are selling out pretty quick. So if you want a hoodie, a t-shirt, a onesie, people sitting in quarantine.
I'm so looking forward to the onesie.
People sitting in
can't wait to
quarantine
see
for
that.
months. You're going to need that onesie here in about 10 months, folks. Trust me. That's just how it works. You could do
appreciate
that.
you listening and chatting with us here in Twitch. Appreciate you all, tuning in. It's been a good one, Tim.
It's been the best episode ever. It really has. But we'll be back. Oh, real shout out. I forgot to say this at the start. We did switch hosts. So there's a good chance no one hears this episode. We switched the website that we host the podcast with. We need you, the listener, to let us know if it's all working properly, if you're getting up-to-date episodes, because every time you switch hosts, in a perfect world, you just copy the RSS feed and it works. But this ain't a perfect world, and it rarely ever works that smoothly. So if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, whatever you listen on, let us know if you're getting the newer episodes. And if you're not, you won't hear this anyways. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it.
Useless. This is like probably the most useless PSA we could have given.
I'm just saying. I wanted to get it out there.
Like, if you can't hear us, let us know that we can't be heard.
And if you can, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for listening.
There you go. So anyways, that for real does it for episode 223 of The Center Ring. We'll be back. What's today? Sunday.
We are going to be back on Wednesday night live for Thursday's episode. So you can catch us here. We'll be streaming it at 8:30. And then it'll post to all you lovely people Thursday morning. So enjoy your week. Be safe. Stay corona free. And we'll talk to you soon.